the No Excuses podcast. This is episode 63. My name is Anne and I live in Worcestershire with my husband Tom and our dog Bertie. This is the second time of recording today because, as you may have seen on Instagram, I did exactly 56 minutes of recording and I can't upload it. I can't get it to work. Can't get the card to work on my laptop so I can edit it. And I'm a bit annoyed because it went quite smoothly for a change for me, so never mind. Firstly, I'd like to apologise. I've not been here for over 3 weeks. We've had this, that and the other happening, and so, yeah, I've not been around. Normally I like to stick to about a 2-week sort of window, and I will try and get back onto that now, from now on. I've got plenty of notes to keep me busy. I'm doing this on my phone, so the lighting is a bit different. It's about 5 o'clock, I think, or just gone in the afternoon. And it's Monday the 7th of August. So I've got plenty of notes to work my way through again. And we'll see if I remember everything. First of all, thank you for joining me again. I'm sorry it's been such a long time. I hope you and yours are well. And you're looking after yourselves. And you've had lots of nice crafting time since we last spoke. To get the admin out of the way first, we have 2 make-alongs running in the No Excuses podcast. The first one is Smash the Stash, which is where you can enter any project where more than 50% of the yarn or fabric you're using, because you could be sewing, as you've owned for longer than 6 months. Then we also have a flat mail, which is where you have an item that you need to sew up instead of it all being top down in the round, no seaming. So any item really that's a bit bigger than a few inches that you need to sew, then please enter it. You can enter on Ravelry, you can enter on Instagram with the hashtags that I've put here, or you can enter via email, and my details are all below. So, yeah, lovely to hear from you. The other thing that I'm participating in this month is the Yarn and Yarns Hat Mail, being run by Ange, of Yarns and Yarns, obviously. And I'll show you what I'm making in a few minutes. I don't normally join in mails, because I don't even get to be very successful in my own. And I don't mean winning the prizes. I mean, I create these mails and I don't always make things that adhere to my own mail rules. So, yeah, pretty useless. So, let's talk about, we have got some finishes. No, one finish, some progress on things, a couple of things you've not seen before. Unless you have seen Instagram recently, a bit of incoming and what I've been up to. So, I finished a scarf for my mum. I have started this scarf about 8 times and I'm not kidding you. I even bought a couple of extra patterns. Mum said she wanted a scarf, and I don't like knitting scarves, straight square scarves, because I find them really, really boring to knit backwards and forwards, and the stitch length, the row length doesn't change. And also I prefer like shawls and scarves to be as reversible as possible, usually, not always, usually. You may recall that at the beginning of the year I bought 4 skeins from Attic Spin Dye, tonals they were, because I've got such a lot of variegated and speckled stripy yarn in my stash that I wanted something that I could blend in with those things, tone them down a bit, or put the tonals with one of the highly speckled or variegated to make a shawl or something. And Mum saw the mulled wine that I bought and she immediately wanted it. So she said, I'll have a scarf made out of that. So eventually, and I ended up cutting about the first couple of foot off the skein off the wall because I'd started it so many times. It wasn't looking tatty. It's just that I thought over time it might wear a bit quicker because I handled it so much. Anyway, eventually I started and I used the Eve pattern by Chloe Birch. It's on Ravelry. I can't remember. I think it's free. I'm not sure. And it's just a very simple lace pattern where you've got chevrons going up. So it's not reversible. I suppose in a way I could have done it in garter stitch. And I did think about that. But what I did instead is I did some edge stitching. And then I, where you've got the chevrons, after the first 3 or 4, I think it was, I increased the number of straight rows without any lace patterning in that were between the chevron repeats. And then I beaded it. And I beaded it using, I don't know whether you can see these, there are actually 2 different colours in there. There's a lighter colour and a darker colour. The advantage with me using my phone as opposed to the GoPro is I can see what I'm recording. So yes, I've got these, the lighter ones have got what they call an Aurora Borealis finish, and the darker ones are just shiny, like a dusky pinky purpley colour, and they went really well with the scarf. So I've given Mum the scarf, and although I've been to see her twice since giving it her, I have failed to take photographs of her modelling it. However, I'll put some pictures in here showing what the scarf looks like, and I'm very pleased with it. I used 85 grams of the wool and those beads, so, and I threaded them on with a 1mm crocheting hook, which was good fun. I do like beading. It slows you up a lot, but you'll see from the photographs that I beaded the lace bits. So that's my only finished item, but with all the stop-starting I did, it took me longer, as always, you know me. It took me longer than it should have done. Never mind now. So let's straight on to progress. I'll try not to, sorry about Tom coughing in the background. You may recognise this. This is my cardigan that was supposed to be my short-sleeved summer cardi. This is the back, which is why it looks so wide. I still think it looks wide, even though I've changed the pattern that I'm using. But when I hold it against myself, it does go round, just, if you know what I mean. So this is the Stardust colourway by Bobble and Badger, and it is a BFL. It's quite a soft BFL. It's not tightly woven, not a high twist or anything. And I'm using 2 balls at a time. There is a slight difference with some of them, I can tell, but it's not really noticeable. I was using my Peyton's Family Knits book in double knitting, and hold on, I just lost a couple of stitches. And I couldn't get it right. I was using too much wool because I've got 5 skeins of this. Now 500 grams should be enough for a v-neck cardigan for me. But I was getting through far too much wool, and the raglan looked ridiculously deep. Now I've got my Swamp Monster cardigan that I used that for, and that is more like a jacket because it's too big. It's not too big, but it's a bit big on me for a cardigan, and I wanted this cardigan to be more fitted. So I had a look in my patterns, and I found a Wendy pattern. I'll put a photograph here because although I've got I printed the pattern out, our printer's running out of colour, and I printed it in black and white, but the photograph still came out green and it doesn't show the pattern very well. So v-neck pattern, and the difference is it's got setting sleeves. I'm hoping that that means that by the time I've finished the back, I'll know whether I've got enough yarn for the front, the 2 fronts and the short sleeves. Should have. And I'm also knitting it on a 4.5mm needle as opposed to a 4, because which is what a standard double knitting pattern in the UK would have called for over the years. You know, the old pamphlets we'd get from wool shops. I'm doing that so it gives me a slightly looser gauge, row wise really. I don't think I'm halfway up the back. I'm a bit further, halfway up to the armhole, and so it shouldn't take me too long to finish that, except it's my designated evening knitting. I like to have something on the needles for the day and something on the needles for the evening. That's my evening knitting, and I keep falling asleep in front of the telly. Never mind, it will get made. It'll probably be the winter cardigan. I think they are more summery colours though. I should mention I'm not wearing anything knitted today. This is about 12 years old, this old top from Debenhams, Manta Ray from Debenhams. I've got this one, and I've got one in a pale colourway as well, same pattern, and I just wear them. I'm hoping to sit outside this afternoon when I'd finished the podcast editing, etc, etc, because the weather's gone really nice and we're expecting warmer weather this week as well. But never mind, we are where we are. So that's the first thing in progress. Now, if you are on Instagram, you will have seen this, or at least, I don't know whether I've put it on there since I've started knitting it. This is my 4th City Limits. You can see that, even though I've tried to blend those, you can see a big difference quite in between the colours there. And I did do a couple of rows of this colour and that colour. I was just sneaky. It doesn't look that noticeable to the eye, so it's probably just the light and the camera, etc. But this is the City Limits by Tanis Fiber Arts, and this is my 4th time of knitting it. I'm knitting it in 2 strands of 4-ply, and I thought I'd go down a size, so I cast on for the neck, and then I don't know what happened. I'm using the recommended needle size because I'm sure that's what I've done before, and the neck was really big. It was like it would fall off my narrow shoulders, quite honestly. So I took it down again and started again, as I always do. And I don't know why that's the case with this, because, as I say, you know, the 4th time of knitting, and as far as I'm aware, I hadn't made any big changes to the pattern. But this time I wanted it to be garter stitch, because I've been falling asleep under my mitered square blanket, which is 2 strands of 4-ply and garter stitch, the one I finished earlier this year. So I wanted this to be the same. It's a bit tricky because when you're doing the short rows on the neck, you've got to keep looking and think it's not necessarily what the pattern's telling you to do, because that's written for stocking stitch. I mean, the pattern is reversible, but still written for stocking stitch. So I had to keep looking at it and decide where I should be if I wanted it to look like garter. I've changed that where the raglan seam is. It's normally 2 stitches on the, sorry for the clanging, normally 2 stitches, but I've only got 1 there. The neck's still a bit big, but I'll take that in when I pick up and knit the neckline. So the wool I'm using is a mixture of minis. I think I'll put a photograph on Instagram, and I'll put a photograph of everything I'm using in this on the screen as I talk. But I'm using the Spring Fade from Emma of Yarnworthy, and that was 7 50-gram skeins, and I chose the Merino this time, Merino 4-ply. This is the next one I'm going to be using. Gorgeously mustardy tones, which I love. The 2 I'm using at the moment are these 2, which are very similar, and I think that one is the Spring Fade one, and this is a mini out of my stash. I've got quite a few yellowy mustardy colours, greens. I've bought a set of green minis before now that included a yellowy end of green, and I think in my family tree advent there was quite a few nice mustardy tones. So I'm going to hopefully use 6 of the 7 of the Yarnworthy 50 grams. I don't want to use the last one. I've put it in the big D-stash bag behind me, because I don't think the colour goes, personally. It's a bit too emeraldy for me. I think I showed you when I received the wool that I didn't think the green went, but you'll see from the photographs anyway what I mean. So I've just got me wool knotted up in the cut in the yarn bowl. So that's my city limits, and I've been working on that quite diligently during the day. And I found something new to watch that wasn't murders on YouTube, and that's train journeys, particularly diesel ones that have been recorded in the UK. And I just sit there and they just bobble along and look at the countryside. Some places I recognise, some places I know of, but you're only looking from the rails, you see, you're not, and it's normally head on. But I have a fear of tunnels. I know I've got fears of everything. The tunnel, what you can do on YouTube is you can put your finger at the bottom, you can pull it up slightly, and it'll give you all the paint, or most of them, of what you're going to view. And if I go along there, I can see where it goes black, and I know it's a tunnel. So if I think there's a tunnel coming up because there's cuttings and things, or I can see a big hill coming, and I go along, I don't want to watch the tunnel, you idiot. I've tried to go through a few tunnels, but where they make me jump a bit. I've told you when I went on a canal boat holiday. Oh, and on the last full day we were on the boat, we went through 3 long tunnels, and they were the only 3 long tunnels on the actual Cheshire Ring. And I had kittens, and I dreamt about them for years afterwards, and I was steering the boat. Anyway, so that's my city limits in IKEA bowl number 2. And then here is my Musselburgh hat. This is a hat pattern by Ysolda Teague, or Ysolda, I think her brand name is. I'll show you can you see the start there? It's a bit cat bummish, isn't it? Or should I say wheel? Can you see it? Just here. That's a pinhole start. Much easier than I thought it was going to be. Except you have to wrestle with your DPNs. But I watched Stacey of Very Pink Knits. I quite like her how-to tutorials. And then the Musselburgh hat, you start with a very few stitches. You increase out. You knit a long length, and then you decrease, and then it all folds up into itself, with or without a brim, depending on how long you've made it. I'm using this rather gorgeous merino, cashmere and nylon. It's not as fluffy as some, or I wouldn't say soft, but fluffy as some of the merino cashmere I've had in the past, and that's because it's a high twist. And this is the Highlander colour from Biffsugar Yarns, Allison's. And what you get nearly every stitch is a different colour, and it's really nice because there's yellows and blues and pinks, and you get quite nice flashes of colour. And what I need to do, I've measured it this morning, and it was about nearly getting on for halfway before I start the decreasing. So I've been working on this. It is mindlessly boring. Although, the trouble is I tend to watch my knitting, even when I'm sat in front of something to watch, you know. I'll glance at it, and also I can feel when I go wrong. But I find this boring, because I did think about putting some pattern in it. I thought, no, because you'll only start and stop it. Just knit it as it is. It's going to be a lovely hat. It looks nice when other people have done it. Just stay with the pattern this time. Behave yourself. So I am behaving myself. So that is the Musselburgh. by Ysolda, and I have been working on this to get it finished. It's a mull that's going to take place in August, and today, like I say, is the 7th. I might alternate days. I might do this early evening and do my city limits during the day, and then get back to doing some knitting at night. Keep falling asleep in front of the telly. You know, at night we woke up at 1:30 in the morning, but we were tired. But I'll tell you why in a bit. So I'm going to go and get my incoming. Bollocks for freshly. What? Yeah. Better take those words out and all. I've got to be careful how I approach the table, because my selfie stick, which has got a tripod at the bottom of it, isn't as stable as the other tripod I use with my GoPro. So I don't want to start a load of editing I don't need just by crashing into my own table. Incoming. At the beginning of the year, I signed up to one yarn club. Now, I'm not keen on mystery yarn clubs. They've bit me in the bum in the past, and I've said I wouldn't do it again. But I quite like 99.9% of what Emma of Yarnworthy does. So in the beginning I was ordering a bare skein, undyed, and the colour of the month. Well, it's bi-monthly. And then after 3 months I wrote to Emma and said I didn't need any more bare. Can I have just 2 skeins of the dyed? And she said yes, certainly. So this is July's, and this is called Summer Haze. And if you follow Emma on Instagram, you will have seen that she showed you all the different bases she's dyed it on, and it looks very, very different. And it looks far, far brighter on the merino, because this is merino, silk and yak. And I'm amassing quite a bit of this, and also it's what I knitted my Blue Moment cardigan out of. So I'm hoping it's going to quite well. And I did think initially when I got it that when Ange announced the Yarn and Yarns thing, I thought, oh, I'll use my Yarnworthy wool, because it needs more than one skein of yarn, because you're knitting this long tube that folds in on itself. And I thought, no, because I like this, and I think this would make a really nice, the two together would make a really nice shawl. And if I wanted to make a really big shawl, I could add a bare one. And the bare undyed skeins in the yak are grey. They're quite nice, and of course they blend with this. So I really, really like this. It's like sort of almost a lime green, going to, there's some khaki in there. There's almost duck egg blue, you know, really, really nice, right up my street. So yes, so that is from Emma, and I've only got 2 more now to go. So that'll be July, September and November. Not sure I'll sign up again to another one next year. We'll see what's on offer. Like I need any more wool. Don't tell anybody. It's my wedding anniversary this month, and Tom knows I like presents. So he said, what year, what do you get then for your 5th? And I said, it's wood. I had a look around. I think I want wood. You know, if I didn't have an embroidery hoop, which I haven't yet used on a stand, that could have been a nice gift for me, but I've already got one. So And I said, do you know what? I said, you change one letter and it's wool. That's what I'm having. He said, buy yourself some wool. So I will. Actually, while we're talking about buying wool, I fancy making the summer sorbet tea that Lee Amber Knits has designed. It's on Ravelry, and it's a fairly simple looking summer top, and she knitted it in Knitting for Olive pure silk. Now I noticed that Barbara of Bondi Crafter or Bondi Crafter in Australia is using it at the moment. So I asked Barbara whether she thought it would make a nice top, and she said yes. And the price isn't too bad, really. I looked at ordering it from, if I order it from Knitting for Olive, it appears to be cheaper, except that I'll probably get caught for customs and VAT, and that could, in theory, make it a lot more expensive than if I buy it directly from somebody in the UK. So I think I'm probably, if they've got the right quantity and in the right colour, I'm probably going to buy it from the little shop in Tiverton or the one in Bristol. Can't remember the name, but I'll let you know if and when I order it. But if you've used the pure silk from Knitting for Olive, what do you think of it? In fact, if you've used any Knitting for Olive, because, you know, maybe pure silk shouldn't travel on its own while I'm ordering, paying postage. What do you think? Because they've got some absolutely gorgeous colours. Right up my street, some of the autumnal colours that they do. When I look at myself, because I'm not used to recording on the phone anymore, it looks like I'm looking sideways. So I'm hoping it's not too off-putting. I keep trying to remember to look at the camera. In theory, I'm looking at the camera now. So, but I forget and end up looking at myself. Anyway, the other day I went into Hobbycraft and I bought, well, my mum showed me these first, which are, they had these on offer, so many for 4 for so many, and this is a boutique fat quarter, 18 inches by 22. Got 2 of those. And then a pink. And these may well make their way into the bags that I'm making, which I'll talk about again next time, because I'm still trying to work my way through my stash at the moment so I've got all the stuff I want to de-stash together, because a couple of people have said that although they may not want a bag, they're interested in what I've got to de-stash anyway. So I'm trying to put it all in one place, and then I can sort what I want to put into bags and de-stash the rest, or at least try to. So while I was in Hobbycraft the other day, I also bought these fat quarters, and I've got 2 of these. You've got that colour there and the mustard on the back, that way up, and then you've got a pinky purpley on a cream background, a very purpley with orange and pinky bits on, aqua, oh yeah, and then we're back to the front. That's quite nice. I've got 2 of those, same size fat quarters, and then I also bought these because they're on offer for 3 for £21, so it's worth you buying the 3. And I thought that the colours in these went quite well, because I like one for the lining, and then I normally put 2 colours in my outer bag, but not always. So I've got that there, and then that on the other side, same colours almost, different pattern. You've got pinky. So if you like these are in Hobbycraft at the moment. Peachy colour. I can't hold them any closer, unfortunately. And then that one, and this one will definitely be a lining because it's fairly plain, and I suspect the peachy one might end up being the lining as well. I wouldn't necessarily put 2 heavily patterned things on the side of one bag, I'd prefer to put either just dots or something plain, or a stripe at the bottom and then the pattern at the top, and then have something different for the inside. So I've also ordered some Lewis and Irene again, because Empress Mills had a superb offer on the latest Queen Bee fabric they've got in, and it was half price or 30% off or something, and it took it down for something like £13 a metre. Yeah, it must have been half price, £13 a metre to about £6 or £7 a metre. And I've got to have some, not too much, but I've got to have some. And the only other thing I was going to show you, because we've got a lot of mustardy colours, and I'm not going to say autumn's nearly coming, because it isn't, because we're going to get some hot weather at the end of this week, allegedly. I bought this from, I like my makeup. This is an eye palette from Morph. I bought this in Boots the other day when I was there with Liz and Elaine. If I get it open. And it is those colours there. They're pretty. The top row there are matte, and then these are, the other 6 are a bit glittery. Not glittery, but they've got a sheen to them. I really like those. And then I've seen online that they do a pinker version as well. I'm going to see if we can get that. I can't resist an eye palette. I do love my eyeshadow, and I do try to do blending a bit, but I'm no expert. And I've got a couple of eye palettes that I haven't used. I should show you really, in case anybody's. I'm quite happy to send them off in the post to somebody, free of charge in the UK, rather than be wasted. So I'll see if I can have a look at what I've bought and not used, and let you know. So yeah, so I bought that, and I bought it on my Advantage points, so it was free, effectively. My coffee is very cold. Not iced coffee like you get in a shop. So that's incoming, and I'll show you my Empress. I might show you my Empress Mills purchase next time. Depends how much I'm going to use in bags, because sometimes it's nice to have a surprise, isn't it? Right, activity. I've been talking for 33 minutes now, so I'm going to try not to waffle too much, but I haven't seen you for 3 weeks, so settle down, get yourself comfy. The day after I recorded last time, I went into our little town centre here with my friend Tanis, who I used to work with, and we had a nice look round. We went to Muffin Break in the middle of town for our lunch, and we shared a cheese and ham panini. Now, I'm not very keen on melted cheese when I'm out. I don't know why, because I love it when I'm at home. But I really enjoyed it. I think I was hungry. I really enjoyed that. And it wasn't too heavy going, because we shared one. So you only ended up with a piece about 4 or 5 inches, if that, long. So we had plenty of room for a pudding. And I had Mars bar cheesecake. It was very nice and very sickly, but that just meant you didn't want too much of it. You couldn't have had 2 portions. Not that I've ever eaten 2 portions of pudding. I might have done it at home, but not out. But we toilet tails, alarm, nothing bad, but we got some really nice public toilets, and I thought you had to pay for them, but they're not. They're free now. So we went in. Denise went to the ladies, and then I said, "Can you come in the loo with me?" Went in a disabled toilet, locked the door so nobody could get in. And the cleaner tried to get in, you say. We're like, we're in here. Oh, all right then. No worries. And but we were chatting away, and chat like we do. Oh, have you got your trousers? Like, oh, get hold of that bit there. As we try, and she tries to help me, basically get dressed again. We get outside, and the man's still waiting outside. He's heard all our conversation. I don't know what we talked about, but Denise and I are a bit no holds barred. So, luckily he had a mask on, so we couldn't see if he was grinning or not. So I said thank you to him. I said how impressed I was with the toilet, how clean it was, etc. So yeah, definitely go there again. And it's good for me because I do get a bit nervous about loos, as you know. Then went to Longbridge with Mum, and we had a look round. I was looking for joggers for Tom again. Then a fortnight ago, Tom's mum, Kath, and his sister, Carol, came to visit us from Stockport, where Tom grew up, and his mum and sister still live. And they came to stay with us. They stayed at the Premier Inn down the road, actually, because we haven't got the room here. This is our spare room, and, you know, I've taken most of it up, and our wardrobes. Yeah, so they stayed at the Premier Inn, and they stayed there for 3 nights, and they came and visited us. So we saw them on a Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, and then they set off for home after breakfast on the Friday, because it's right next to the motorway. It made better sense for them to do that. And it was really nice to see them. We haven't seen them for a couple of years. Is it two? I think Carol said. Carol's a year younger than me, and she's Tom's older sister. Tom's a little bit younger than me. But Kath, Tom's mum, and my mum are a month apart in age. My mum's March and Kath's April. So yeah, so they met on the Thursday. We went to Webb's. Excuse me, they met at the wedding, obviously. That was 5 years ago. They couldn't come last time because Mum and Dad both had colds. They didn't want to come down and pass anything on to Carol or Kath. So we met at Webb's, the big garden centre by us. Had a cup of coffee. It was very, very noisy in there. You know, we had in their cafe. But we had a chat. I went into Hobbycraft and bought that, and Carol bought a few things for her grandchildren. Mum took Carol into the men's toilets, by mistake, obviously. We had a look around at the clothes and bits and pieces. Didn't look at any plants, even though it's a garden centre. And it was nice to get out. Went into Lakeland. Carol bought one of those pineapple stripper things, and she said it works really well. So yeah, Tom made us pizza that night, and we'd had pasta the night before with homemade garlic bread. So it was nice to see them, nice to have visitors. I don't really encourage visitors in my house because of the size that it is, you know. But yeah, it was nice to see them. But talking is exhausting. As nice as it was tiring, you know, to have people round, and they were tired too. But Bertie went for his annual check about 3 weeks ago, and he's been on and off poorly since. I think he's getting better. He has his last dose of like worming type powders tonight, because he's had a dodgy tummy, not been sick, but had a dodgy tummy, got better. Luckily, while Kath and Carol were here, he was fine, and I put some photographs in of him wedged in between them getting kisses and cuddles, because Tom's mum adores Bertie. She sends him birthday presents with love from Grandma. She bought him butcher's sausages, not supermarket, butcher's sausages to eat. Told Tom they were for Bertie, not for him. And she adores that dog. So, which is lovely. I mean, Bertie likes it as well, obviously, likes the attention. So, yeah. So we were all tired but luckily when Kath and Carol were here, Bertie was sleeping through the night. But at one point he got up 5 times in the night. And it's a big advantage of him being on the bed, because we know when he's got off him. But one morning, Tom had opened the door, our bedroom door and our back door, at 2:30 in the morning, in case Bertie wanted to get off again because it was getting daft. Tom's not very good at falling asleep again, whereas I'm not too bad. So we were all zonked out, and since they went last week, Bertie's been poorly still. So we finally went to the vets. We took him to the vets because we changed his diet, we tried all these things, he'd get better and he'd get poorly again. And he's all right in himself, his demeanour is fine, he's eating, he's happy, he wants to play, he wants cuddles, everything. He just keeps being, having a dodgy tummy. Took me to the vets, yeah, might be parasites, because we know we've had the fox in the garden, and Bertie will eat things, including grass. And as Sal said to me, it could be a slug or a snail or anything that he's picked up. Say he eats grass, could be a little tiny thing that he's eaten that sets him off. He's always had a bit of a delicate side to him. And so yeah, we were tired. We were very tired. Tom in particular was like zombie-ish because he'd had a couple of nights where he had no sleep at all. Luckily not consecutive ones, but some of them were, you know, only 3 or 4 hours, and then sleep a night without any sleep. I just telling you, especially when he's got to look after both of us. I've been to my mum last 2 Sundays, and we've got fabric out material, and I'll put a picture of the pattern that Mum's going to make for me. It's exactly the same as my wedding top, like a smock top. I bought the Frida pattern from Sew Over It, but actually I don't think I'm going to use it because Mum's already done the alterations on this other one that looks virtually the same, so I probably didn't need the Sew Over It pattern. And then I've also got this gorgeous, I'm making that with it's a grey, like a gauze with copper, half-inch copper spots, half-inch diameter copper spots on it. Very, very pretty. Like a darkish grey, not a charcoal, a dark grey. I did have some double gauze with bumblebees on, but we've decided that looks a bit more like a 90, a bit childish. Still lovely, still make something out of it. And we've both got nice fabric. So the other fabric I bought from John Lewis, and I will show you a photograph next time. It's not a lawn, so it's a heavier cotton, slightly, and it's a digital print only on one side. It's green mainly, but it's got animals hidden in the pattern. Monkey, a leopard, I think. It's quite subtle, and I really, really like it. Got that from John Lewis. And we're going to make a Gilbert shirt out of that, Gilbert top by Helen's Closet. Already made that pattern, but we made it out of some shirting that I'd wear in the garden if it's hot. Might wear it later this week, for instance, because it's not the right colour for me to wear. Again, it's a bit emeraldy, emerald green, you know. But it does fit. So, watch this space. We might have some sewing. Yeah, we better have some sewing after me talking about it. Yes, I keep saying, sorry, I'm looking at my notes because I think I've got to the end. Last week I went to Merry Hill with Elaine and Liz. Every time we go, because now Liz lives in Worcester, we're always chasing the bus and or the train to get her back in time, because they've changed the times of the buses that go over the river to where she lives since she moved. And they've cut them. They've taken the excuse of COVID that people aren't using the buses to cut the bus service, which is mad because people weren't allowed on the bus. You weren't allowed to sit on the bus and go on a joyride. You had to stay at home. Anyway, so I got her on the platform at Cradley with about 3 or 4 minutes to go, and she phoned me from the platform, said, I'm all right now, you can go, but I waited till the train had gone. I didn't hear from her again, so I drove off. But instead of going up, I don't know if it's Quarry Bank, it was a big hill, and I knew it was full of traffic because I'd just come down it the opposite way, and I knew it was going to take me 10 or 15 minutes to get back up the hill. So what I did, I turned left, and I got quite a good sense of direction, and I thought, what's the worst that can happen? Go left, I know I've got to go right, and I'll join that main arterial road that runs out towards Hagley. I will cross it at some point. So I went here, there and everywhere. The only thing is I got caught in traffic lights for nearly 5 minutes, temporary traffic lights. But I ended up only about 5 minutes from the junction that I would have got to if I'd gone up the hill, which would have taken me 10 minutes. So in all, if the traffic lights hadn't been there, I probably would have gained well over 5 minutes going the other way. But I need to look on the map and see where I went exactly, because it might have been right round the houses. I might have just got lucky with the traffic, apart from the traffic lights, if you know what I mean. So yes, I went on some roads I didn't even know existed. And Elaine got collected by her son because they were at the cinema at the same time. So they went home, so I didn't have to take Elaine home. But I still got home at about 6:30. And Liz said, well, you got home before me. But Liz had to wait half an hour after getting into Worcester for the bus to go over the river. So really, our journeys were a similar time. But she got home. And if I'd taken her, she would have been too late for the last bus. So what I find is I'm all right while I'm in the car and I'm travelling. I get home and I just crash. I am so tired. And yet Liz had helped me during the day, you know, and we'd stop for a meal, which wasn't very good. I'd had the burger at Wetherspoons. I wasn't impressed at all. And we made the mistake of going for a drink right at the end. Instead of grabbing something in Marks and Spencer's to drink on the hoof, as it were, we sat down in Costa, and that took us about 20 minutes, and it made us really out of kilter for the timings. Stupid, I know. Look, we're young, we don't know any better. And I popped into town on Friday. Bertie was going to the vets and got Tom to drop in town because I needed to go to the bank and I needed to pick up a prescription from Boots. And I thought, oh, I'll take some pictures while I'm here, or a bit of video. But because it looked like it might rain and I wanted to know what was happening with Bertie, I just raced off back in the chair. But I will take my selfie stick, which I'm using at the moment, and my phone, and will record a little bit of our little town centre where I live the next time I go in, maybe with Denise, and we can show you a little bit of our town centre. Yeah, it's much like, it's not got very much to it at all, but we're happy here, so, you know. And that's it, I think. I haven't waffled too much. I've talked much faster, I must have done, because I'm 6 minutes shorter. So what have you been up to? Let me know. Are you okay? Yes, I will put some add some photographs into here, so you can see what I'm talking about as appropriate. But hopefully I'll get this uploaded. I do look a bit yellow, sat in the window, but hopefully I won't be too blotchy. I don't look red. I don't look red when I look in the mirror here, but it's just the camera. So it's like going back in time, isn't it, to before the GoPro days. I might get a decent camera one day. The GoPro works fine. It's just the card that I've put in it, which is new, bought with a GoPro, and that memory card seems to have decided to play up. So, and we tried it on Tom's computer, and we tried it off the phone, in a card reader, in another card reader. Still doesn't want to know. And then I tried to get the card out of my phone with the stabby thing so the drawer comes out. That don't work either. I'll try again in a minute. I'm going now and waffling. See, that's what happens. I close my book and I start waffling. It's no good. I will see you in about 2 weeks' time. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for waiting for me to podcast again. You're extremely loyal. I don't deserve you. I will see you very soon. You take care. Bye.